Yishai, pleasure to see you again. How are you?
Good to be with you.
Um, there is a lot to talk about, as you were just saying earlier before we went online. Where do you want to start? I'm thinking to start about the deal with Lebanon. Get your thoughts on that. What do you make of
Well,
it?
it is a big deal, right? It is a really big deal. And if we weren't in such a cynical time, we would be congratulating one another right now and popping some champagne and saying, "Wow, yet another brick in Middle East stability and Middle East peace." We would be thanking President Trump and his team. We'd be thanking the courage of Lebanon's government and the Lebanese people. We'd be singing the praises of starting that war with Iran, as opposed to what you hear everywhere else. You'd be like, look, that war actually led to the courage of the Lebanese government to stand up against Hezbollah, to say, no, Iran is not part of our governance here, and to be like really excited about the continuation of the Abraham Accords. That's actually how I feel. That's how I feel, really. Now, I know that there's still a lot of work to do, but I'm so excited that there's yet another agreement here, and the Middle East is changing right before our eyes for the better. And again, if we weren't living in such a cynical time, we would be like celebrating right now. We'd both be popping champagne.
Do you think that, because part of the deal now, KK, I'm going to send you a quick map to show on screen for the audience. Part of the deal involves Israel pulling out of the territory that it currently occupies. Do you think that part of the deal should be, it's good for Israel should pull out of that territory if Hezbollah disarms? Because I remember in our last conversation, you were critical, correct me if I'm wrong, you were critical that Israel gave up the Sinai to Egypt as part of the deal. Sure. Do you think that they should give up the territory they currently occupy in Lebanon?
If we have an actual understanding, and if indeed, first thing, I don't think Israel has given up at all its right to fight against Hezbollah and to push back. And Israel wants to pull out. We never wanted to occupy Lebanon unless that's what's needed for our security needs. And if indeed it is deemed that Lebanon will never be able to get a handle on Hezbollah. Right now, there's a sense that Lebanon will be able to get a handle on Hezbollah. And so therefore we're saying, sure, we're going to pull back a little. By the way, the pullbacks are very small relative. They're still
very tiny, yeah.
Right, very tiny. There's still a lot of area that Israel will continue to control and defend and push back. Look, the Lebanese people and the government of Lebanon needs our help. Like other folks need our help, as we mentioned in the last time that we talked. The Druze need our help. The Kurds need our help. The Iranian people need our help. The way I perceive Israel is of the liberation nation. Our job is to actually liberate all kinds of peoples that are in trouble. And by the way, I just want to point out that Mario, you jumped into the technicalities, which are very important, and I'm happy to discuss them. But I wanted for a second to pull back and look at the big picture. And as I said, say Mazel Tov, Mabruk, awesome. Congratulations to another step in Middle East peace. And I think that it's important to take that step. I think it's important to be like conceptualize what's going on here.
Yeah, so in terms of the territory, I don't know if you can expand the map, KK, but the part that Israel pulls out of is the one where the yellow and the red overlap. It's a very little slither of land.
Right.
Now, just to get your position, and then I'll tell you what I think about the deal and why I'm not that excited about it. But before telling you that, so you think if Hezbollah is disarmed, Israel should pull out of the entire red territory? And the reason I ask is I remember in our last conversation, the point you were making is that if a country wins a war, and Israel just went into a war with Hezbollah, they should keep some territory. There's many examples you've given throughout history where one side won a war and they kept territory as a prize for the war because they faced a lot of damages. So if Israel wins that war against Hezbollah, they should keep some of that territory. Do you think that applies now in Lebanon, or do you think as part of the deal, if Hezbollah is disarmed, they should pull out of the entire red territory?
The difference is that Lebanon is not one thing, right? Lebanon is a very divided country. There's the country of Lebanon, then there's the Iranian proxy intervention in that country. So there's like you're dealing with two different things. This map that we're looking at is Israel's battle with Hezbollah. it's not exactly our battle with Lebanon, although one could also fault Lebanon for allowing this to happen, or whatever, or feel bad for them that this has happened. So the map that you showed was our war with Hezbollah. Should we hold on to that land? Well, if Lebanon won't be able to really disarm Hezbollah, then we're the ones going to have to. Israel's going to be the ones to have to do with it, to deal with it. Is part of Lebanon ancient Israel? Could be. We, according to our history, we think so. But as I said to you also back then, we're not here. And please remember, I said we're not here for territorial expansion. We're trying to make normalization with Lebanon. And in general, I tried to explain this last time. Israel is not an expansionist state. It's not an imperialist state. It's a nationalist state. We have our national history in our land. We're not trying to take away and eat other people's lands. However, if you mess with us and you can't get control, then we're going to be forced to do that. And we have legitimacy to hold on to that land from our history and from the fact that Hezbollah has attacked us. Today is a day that we're celebrating a new relationship. This is the first time that Lebanon has, what is the language? I just want to look at the language. Israel and Lebanon affirm each other's right to exist in peace and their mutual desire to live in security as two neighboring sovereign states. Wow. So that's what it's really about. Will Israel pull out completely? Who knows? Will Lebanon be able to really disarm Hezbollah? Who knows? But there is a will to live side by side and to help each other's economies and each other's tourism and each other's hospitals and each other's future.
So I want to go through some of the statements. It won't be Ben Gvir. We'll get to Ben Gvir later. I want to go through some of the other statements I got from Israeli media, and I'd love to get your take on them, which ones you agree with, which ones you don't. There's something that Ravi Drucker said. He's a prominent Israeli... says Ravi, my bad.
Yeah.
Raviv Drucker.
Yeah.
On Channel 13. And he says the Israeli plan in Lebanon is to divide the country and plunge it into civil war, to force the Lebanese government into military confrontation with Hezbollah. So two questions. First, your thoughts on that particular statement. And second, do you think there's elements within the Israeli government that do want to achieve that objective? Because if you look at it militarily, Israel does benefit from a weaker Lebanon or from anyone fighting Hezbollah, whether it's the Lebanese government or the Syrian military. Trump talked about the Syrian military going in and fighting Hezbollah. What's your stance on that particular point?
I think it's making something simple unnecessarily complicated. Hezbollah is a cancer that has taken over, an Iranian cancer that has taken over Lebanon. Israel is a doctor. We've been doctors for thousands of years. Now we're also in a kind of military doctor that we're helping get rid of that to reestablish Lebanese sovereignty and life. Hezbollah has destroyed Lebanon, and Israel's the cure. It seeks to decolonize Lebanon from the Iranian proxy and the Iranian cancer, and reestablish that country as a successful country. So to say that we're trying to plunge it into civil war, that's silly. Lebanon has been in civil war since the 70s. Israel is the solution to that civil war. We're trying to end that civil war. And it seems to me that that's what the Lebanese people are saying as well. They're saying, help us, liberate us. And you're the doctor. Doctor, help me. Dr. Israel, please help me. And I think that that's where we're going. I don't think that we're looking to destabilize Lebanon. We're looking to stabilize Lebanon, and to spin it the other way is spin. It's not what Israel wants to do at all. It wants to actually see stable and strong neighbors. Like look what we've done with the UAE. We've strengthened their economy. We want to strengthen their economy. We want to strengthen their defenses. We want to strengthen our allies in general. That's what Israel seeks to do.
Another statement I want to get your thoughts on, and that one is about Turkey and Egypt. You've seen the rhetoric coming out in the last few days about Turkey and Egypt. Do you view them as threats to Israel? So we've got Israel's Minister of Science and Technology. He says, I have no doubt that the Iranian regime will eventually fall. Once we move beyond the Iranian regime, there is the Ottoman Empire's ambition, which will seek to expand and spread its influence. There is no doubt that Turkey, with its ambitions to expand beyond its borders and to lead the region according to its own vision, poses a real future threat to the citizens of the State of Israel. Israel always prepares for every threat, and there is no doubt that Turkey is becoming a front that could indeed become a threat in the future. And then Amiad Cohen said, 15 years from now, Israel will have a war with Egypt. I want to get your thoughts on these. And the reason I mention them is I just feel like I worry it's a pattern like I understand Turkey, their rhetoric is hostile towards Israel as well, and Egypt hasn't been hostile towards Israel. Egypt, they've really been cooperating with Israel. So I don't understand why there'd be talks about Egypt being in war with Israel in 15 years, or talking about Turkey being a new front, a new threat to Israel.
The statements that you read about Turkey, if you read that in front of Erdogan, he would be like nodding and being like, yes, yes, correct. We are the new Ottoman Empire. We are here to fight with Israel. We want to crush it. He uses that language all the time, and he's taken active measures in many different ways, including, by the way, all kinds of influence campaigns within Jerusalem, within buying properties, taking over stuff, and fighting from within Israel, backing Hamas ideologically and in other ways. And fighting our other allies of Israel, let's say the Kurds and others, also establishing. He helped the Syrian regime fall. We were happy about that, but we have a kind of Turkish powered by Turkey jihadis who are now in charge of Syria. Listen, let's take Erdogan seriously. There's no reason not to take him at his word. He's a successful ruler who has shifted Turkey away from being on the pro-Israel axis and economic alliance to an anti-Israel axis. Recently, they signed a deal, very sad, with Saudi Arabia to make a railway that is going to bypass Israel. They were very proud that it bypasses Israel. They said that. And so there's no question that Erdogan, and I don't want to say Turkey because I think the Turkish people, a lot of them, would be really much more pro-Israel, and that's the way it was until Erdogan. I think that he wouldn't deny for 1 second that he's an enemy of Israel, and he has, he's behind the flotillas, and he's endlessly calling, Netanyahu a war criminal, all kinds of stuff like that. So we know who he is, and I only hope that the Lord takes him away, and that Turkey can return to being on the pro-Israel axis. I think I've been to Istanbul and really enjoyed myself, and I found that people were very friendly to Israel and Israelis. And I'd love to see that happen again. With regarding to Egypt, your statements are not commensurate with the way I understand Egypt's plans. And I'll give you a few examples. Egypt has many times sent tanks and other equipment into the Sinai in contradiction to the Sinai Accords. But most importantly, Hamas would have never been armed to do October 7th if it wasn't for the blind eye that Egypt turns to the incredible network of smuggling of weapons and arms from Sinai into Gaza. And Egypt, it's well known, has no love lost for Israel. Mein Kampf is a top seller on the Egyptian street. And really, it's a very cold piece, very, very cold piece, or more, let's say, a kind of hudna, a preparation for a later war. Again, here, Egypt is it's totally backed up by the United States. If America wouldn't be flooding that country with millions of dollars, that country is very poor and has really not developed, not their tourism industry and not their cotton industry and not so many things that they could have developed. It could have been a fabulous country, but instead has gone backwards. From my perspective, anti-Semitism is one of the things that drives countries backwards. And so, the concern that we may have a war with Egypt, well, that's not a small concern. In Israel, being a small Jewish state, really not yet loved throughout the whole region, continues its defensive. We are nothing but a ethnic national protectorate, a reservation, if you will, of our peoplehood with hopefully well-adjusted minorities that live with amongst us. And if Egypt, is developing capacity, well, we can't turn a blind eye like we did with Hamas. We have to be ready for a war, a confrontation with them as well. Again, I really would love to pray. I'd love to ask the Lord to help them change leadership and change their mind. Israel isn't going anywhere. The 100-year war against Israel, the jihad against Israel, has proven to be an abject failure. Israel isn't going anywhere. Smart countries like the UAE are starting to see that and starting to actually benefit from the blessings of Israel. And we're here to stay. We are related to our Arab brothers and sisters. We speak a similar language. We have a similar genetic code. we're not going anywhere. Allah is with us, and it's time to work with Israel and not against it.
And with Egypt, just to understand your position, and that Israel should not attack Egypt, should not seek war with Egypt, but you're saying it should be prepared because you worry Egypt may see conflict with Israel. Is that your concern?
Yes, but it would be unfair if I didn't remind people again that the Hamas attack was fueled by the smuggling that happened from Egypt-controlled Sinai into the Gaza Strip. Massive smuggling efforts, and at best, Egypt turned a blind eye. At worst, they were collaborating with Hamas to attack Israel, and we have to be concerned about that. Mario, that's our lot. We Jewish people, we have to be suspicious of people who call to destroy Israel and work to annihilate us. It's not a joke for us. And again, I remind you, we have wives and children. It's real for us here. And we have to defend ourselves. These are not just words or rhetoric. This is the way we live. And the Lord has made it such that we are a nation that also has to live at the edge of the sword for the time being, until such a time as swords are beaten into plowshares. But in the meantime, yes, we are vigilant. And as I tell my Arab brothers and sisters, we have our hand out for peace. But if you want war, we are ready for 1,000 years of war to defend our peoplehood.
All right, so now these are the tough statements where we'll probably, like, I understand where you're coming from. In Lebanon, in theory, the deal is great. If Hezbollah, so I think that if Israel pulls out of the Lebanese territory and Hezbollah is disarmed, that's the best thing that could happen to Lebanon. A lot of people in Lebanon are worried that if Hezbollah is disarmed, there's no more deterrent against Israel. And I speak to people in Israel, they're like, we have no ambitions in Lebanon. The reason we keep attacking Lebanon is because of Hezbollah. And there's that debate. I really don't know. I'm not in those meetings with the defense minister and Netanyahu and the administration to know what their intentions are. I just feel like I've been calling for the disarmament of Hezbollah for a while. I started being more skeptical and worried when I saw Israel leveling villages. I'm not sure I'm not sure if we've spoken about this, but that's when I started getting concerned. Before that, I thought Israel was acting. Yeah, I told you, I think that at that time, I think Israel was acting proportionately until that time. When it got to that stage, I'm like, shit, Israel is doing something very similar in Lebanon as it did in Gaza. And I started getting very worried. And my stance changed where I'm not sure, should Hezbollah be disarmed before Israel pulls out? Should Israel pull out before Hezbollah is disarmed? But then the MOU happened with Iran. The reality of it, and before we get into a bit, actually, we'll talk about this before getting to Ben Gvir's statements, because that's where it gets a bit emotional. When I saw the MOU, Yishai, with Iran, I'm like, reality has just changed. I'm not sure if you agree with me, but the MOU is very favorable to Iran. I think Iran came out stronger after this war, will come out stronger as it rebuilds. And because of that new reality, I think the disarmament of Hezbollah has become, at least in the short term, an illusion, unless we go down a very violent path. So I really don't know what the solution is for Lebanon. I genuinely don't. I don't think Syria should go in and fight Hezbollah. I think that's catastrophic. I don't think the Lebanese military would fight Hezbollah because that would be catastrophic for Lebanon. And I don't think Israel should continue fighting Hezbollah or Hezbollah attacking Israel, because that cycle of violence that's been going on for so long will just continue. Then you might ask me, okay, what is the solution? I really have no clue. I really have no idea what the solution is for Lebanon.
I just want to say to you, Maro, that our solution is the thing that ensures our survival. And I don't know if you've ever tried to do an exercise of putting yourself into the shoes of Jews and Israelis. It's not an easy shoe to get into, but we really have a consciousness that we've been persecuted for a long time. And
these discussions, you asked me the question, I put myself in the shoes. These discussions are probably the closest I've gotten to putting myself in those shoes, because you explain it so well. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you. So then therefore I'll keep going. Like, when you're a Jew living in the Middle East, an Israeli, it's not like an Arab living in the Middle East. An Arab living in the Middle East, even though there's many different Arabs and dialects and different things, still, an Arab in Iraq knows that he has a relationship to the Arabs in Syria, and an Arabic-speaking person in Egypt, an Egyptian, knows that he, has a Hajj that he could go to in Saudi Arabia. And it's a huge, huge region that in one way or another is open to them. For example, so-called Palestinians oftentimes tell us that the place that they want to go to is the UAE because they could find work there. So, that's a 1,000 kilometers away, but still Arabs know that they could go to a place where they could wear their traditional clothing, speak their language, and feel good. When you're a Jew living in the Middle East, even though our language is similar to Arabic, and even though we pray 3 times a day and they pray 5, and even though we have a similar genetic code, we have not been loved for 100 years here, and we live with our back to the wall. And we've had many wars foisted upon us, and we've pushed back, and we've survived through our strength and our cunning and our ruthlessness, and through God's protection. And so, when you mention Egypt and Turkey and whatever it is, and Hezbollah, like when you talk about Hezbollah, you're like, I don't know what the solution is. Our solution is simple: we got to get rid of those guys. We got to push them back. We can't let them kill our kids. We can't let them kill our kids. That's just the bottom line. We can't let them kill our kids. So too with Palestinian Authority jihadism or Hamas jihadism. We can't let that happen. And we know so the math is simple. What's going to help us survive? That's our math, and that's the way we live. And as I speak to you, I'm in Hebron, a city that has tremendous amount of Hamas ideology in it. I'm broadcasting to you from Hebron, and we've lived in this city for over 3,000 years, sometimes as an ethnic majority, other times like today as an ethnic minority. And as I said, Hamas is a powerful entity here. Okay, so we live with survival as one of our basic commandments. Thou shalt survive. Thou shalt push back against enemies. And then with all that, we still do our part to develop goodness in this world, to develop technologies, to live in joy, to go to cafes, to study our ancient texts, to do all that stuff, to have lively cities and lively cafes. And I'm, it's pretty impressive if I do say so. So, that's how that's the math that we make, which is not our math is like, what do we do to survive and make sure that our communities in the north of Israel are extant and are flourishing. Right now, they're not flourishing because we allowed Hezbollah to get too close and to fire anti-rocket missiles into homes. Many of our northern cities are wrecked, and we shall reestablish them and push back on the bad guys.
Yeah, so I think the solution, there's 2 paths to a solution. One of them is military, one of them is diplomatic. Different circumstances require different paths. So this is probably a good time I'll read out a quote from Ben Gvir. He says this, and that one really bothered me when he says the following a few days ago. With the Iranians, there is no point in making compromises and no point in signing agreements. The Iranians need to be bombed and then bombed again and then bombed again. And it's the same with Hezbollah. Just keep bombing them and then bomb them again and again. That's how it works. Anyone who wants to condemn me, let people around the world say whatever they want. I truly believe this. Now, I'm not saying this is something you believe in, but when he says a statement like this, when you close the door completely on diplomacy and only seek violence, generally speaking, that's not the right path, because violence just breeds more violence. If you go to Iran, instead of finding a diplomatic solution, as you did with Jordan, as you did with Egypt, countries that were once considered enemies, as you're doing with other Arab countries, Iran is hostile towards Israel. Khamenei, the new Mujtaba Khamenei, the new supreme leader, is making similar statements as his father towards Israel. So the problem is there as well, and I would tell them the same thing. But on the Israeli side, do you agree that there should be no path to any diplomatic solution with Iran whatsoever, and the only solution is to keep bombing them to oblivion?
I have worked with Minister Ben Gvir, and I know him, and I've helped him in various times, and he represents a swath of Israeli society which doesn't believe that with the Iranian regime, not with the Iranian people, because we all know that millions of Iranians are with us and want us to liberate them. He thinks that the Iranian regime is not a regime that you can come to some kind of agreement with. He thinks that they're going to use ta'qiyya, fake you out, to continue their war against Israel. And their recent statements, as you said, corroborate that they want to continue to make a war against Israel until Israel's destruction. And I don't think they're making a big secret of that. So basically, he's the mirror image to the Iranian regime. And what people that he represents seek is not bombing endlessly, but to get rid of the Iranian mullah, jihadist, Islamist regime that controls Iran. And same thing with Hezbollah. Notice he didn't say bomb Lebanon into oblivion. He said bomb Hezbollah. And
But then
in
then he
simple
said
terms,
this, Yishai.
let me just make one tiny point, and I'll get back to you. I just want to make one tiny point, just from real experience that I saw with Ben Gvir many times, is that sometimes a few people in a crowd would start chanting "Death to Arabs," and he would stop them, and he'd make a point, and he'd stop the whole procession and the whole thing. And there's a big crowd, and some people are starting to chant like that. He's like, no. Death to jihadis, not death to Arabs. That's not what we're about. And he would correct those few people in the crowd that would start that kind of atmosphere. And so, it's easy to paint people like Ben Gvir as provocateurs or calling to violence. But bottom line is, he's saying there is no peace with hardened jihadis, and they're not going to go to diplomatic way. And so therefore keep fighting them. And he represents a large swath of Israelis that don't believe that there's a diplomatic solution with the Iranian mullah regime. And he's never, let me give you an example. Has he ever said anything against the Abraham Accords? Has he ever said anything against peace with UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, etc.? No, never. Not one statement, not one. He's absolutely never been opposed to the Abraham Accords. He's not opposed to some kind of understanding with Arabs. He's opposed to being suckers and falling for fake rhetoric from the jihadists.
So when you said, notice he mentioned Hezbollah, not Lebanon. And then the next day he made this statement: Lebanon, all of Lebanon should become our playground. All of Lebanon should be our target. And they tell me, quote, wait a second, there is Lebanon and there is Hezbollah. And he says, I do not accept this artificial approach. Do you know what he means by this? And I want to add one more question. Everything he says, do you think he genuinely means what he says, or sometimes he says things emotionally or just for political gain?
Well, all politicians, want to win the next election. And I think we all understand that. He is the only political actor in Israel who's Trump-like, in that sense, that he's, campaigning and campaigning on a strong Israel. And by the way, towards our enemies, to have a minister who is wild and uncontrolled and untamed and undiplomatic serves a purpose as well. It scares our enemies that there is a swath of Israelis who are not going to succumb to ta'akiyah or to diplomatic withdrawals, etc. And he represents, a real swath of angry society, and there's a place for that. That's an actual representation of Israelis. People who minimize him miss the point that he's an actual representative of an actual voice in Israel.
Yeah, 20. You said to me last time, 20 to 30% of Israelis. I checked it when you mentioned to me last time. I was shocked. 20 to 30% of Israelis have a favorable view of Ben Gvir. That was wild when I saw that.
No,
I thought it was a lot less.
No, and he's slated to win, upwards of 10 seats in the next election. We have 120 seats in the Knesset. He's scheduled to gain and have a serious gain, because he represents a society, a swath of society that has seen our young people. I mean, it's become like that. Like if a pundit like myself will say something like our women raped and our babies burnt, if you say that, it's become like meaningless, but it's not meaningless to us. We see the images of murdered Israelis at the Nova Festival, etc. We see them before our eyes. A friend of mine was down on October 7th. He was a lieutenant colonel in the army. He was there with a pickup truck picking up bodies of just plain civilians from the road when they were dead bodies baking in the sun. So to us, these things are very real, and the anger is palpable, and people don't want to go into the recurring theme of, okay, let's make a deal like the Oslo Accords, like the disengagement, and like the Lebanon pullout, and all these things fail recurrently. And guess what, Mario? We don't want to see our kids have, I have a kid right now who's 14, turning 15. He says to me, goes, Father, he says to me in Hebrew, Abba, it seems that I'll also be fighting in Lebanon. And as I told you on the last time I was with you, my father fought in Lebanon. I fought in Lebanon, was almost killed by a roadside bomb. And my 15-year-old kid is mentally getting ready to fight in Lebanon. So, okay, there's going to be a part of society that's going to say, come on, guys, like, when is enough going to be enough? When are we just going to stop falling for it? And when are we going to fight to win and to bomb the jihad and get rid of it and actually liberate thereby Lebanon and liberate these countries around us, liberate the Druze, liberate the Kurds, etc. When are we going to actually go big and go home? That's one of my memes. Go big and go home. That's what we're doing.
So I understand the atrocities of October 7th. I understand the violent history that the region has faced.
But I'll tell you, I
can't relate to it. I haven't lost family or friends, so I can't relate to it in the sense of losing someone there, as in the way you could relate to it. So I don't feel the same emotions as you.
But can you relate to it as a humiliation, a type of like the sexual attacks and all that? They were meant to be a classic form of humiliating the enemy, very Middle Eastern, although it happens in Africa as well. It's like an erasure of who you are. It was really meant to stick our nose in the ground and really suppress us. And we got the message, and that's what we've been pushing back. You said before, like, what happened in Gaza is what's happening in Lebanon. Yeah, there's a price to be paid when you mess with the Jews, with the Israelis. There's a price to be paid, and that's maybe a message that we want to send.
There should come a stage where a new page is turned, because the cycle of violence has been going on for so long, and there's many, almost, I want to say almost every, but the majority of countries that neighbor one another, they've had issues historically. They've had atrocities. I think Israel recognized the Armenian genocide today. Turkey and Armenia, they coexist right now as two countries, but their history is very bloody.
Barely. They'd be happy. Erdogan would be happy to do another genocide on them.
But right now they do coexist. I was in Armenia just a few months ago. European countries have had atrocities between one another. The Middle East has had significant atrocities. But there comes a stage, I mentioned in our last discussion, the Rwandan genocide, when I spoke with the president there. And, he's telling me how I think it's the Tutsis and the Hutus, and one sect was just massacring the other one. And almost every single person in Rwanda has lost a family member. Walking right now in Rwanda today, has lost a family member to the genocide in the 90s. And he told me, Mario, I had to make a decision to not seek revenge and open a new page. And that's what led to Rwanda becoming the country it is today in Europe, one of the most successful countries in Europe. So I feel the same. The same thing needs to happen in the region. It needs to happen between.
I don't understand what you meant by that.
Sorry, the Rwanda in Africa. So Rwanda is becoming a great example for what countries should become in Africa. Mm-hmm. So I think the same thing needs to happen in Israel. If you keep going back to October 7th, if Iran keeps going back, but the only problem though is there's an ongoing issue. Egypt, Qatar, Pakistan and Saudi, they had a summit a few days ago, and they said there won't be peace in the region until the Palestine issue is resolved. The same way you go back to October 7th, other countries that are hostile towards Israel, they go back to the Gaza issue as well. The same atrocities that happened on October 7th, there's heartbreaking videos and photos from Gaza as well that trigger the same emotions you feel in other Arab countries. So then if we go down multiple layers, there needs to be a solution to the Palestine issue for there to be peace in the region.
Okay, so a few things. Number one is, I understand what you mean by cycle of violence. I understand that. But I want you to try for a second to step back into Israeli Jewish shoes, and that is that the state of Israel, for us, is actually the end of the cycle of violence. We've faced a cycle of violence of 2,000 years, violence and expulsion. And now that we're armed and we have our own state, again, reborn state, our third commonwealth, then we've actually stopped the cycle of violence. And basically, all the dead that Israel has faced in all of its wars are less than 2 days in Auschwitz. So for us, we're actually at the tail end of a cycle of violence, even though we still face violence and have to return violence. We're actually very much living in the best, most defended time for the Jewish people in 2,000 years. As sad as that may seem, we're really in our very best time, in our most defended time, and having the least amount of Jews being murdered, yearly. So that is our lot. And therefore, to us, this language of cycle of violence is, it's different than the way you portrayed it. To us, we're really our state gives us the ability to defend ourselves and to be armed. With regarding to Palestine, if you look at the maps of Palestine that they sell on mugs and necklaces and T-shirts and hats, it is the map of Israel. Palestine is a created mythology, a created historical narrative that was created in order to erase Israel. It is here to erase Israel. Palestine is the enemy of Israel. Marco Rubio had a great explanation that he said, basically, when you say free Palestine, you mean really death to Israel. And my country in the 90s, my country Israel in the 90s, went through a process called the Oslo Accords, where they created a Palestinian Authority in some of the most heartland places of Jewish history. And that was, in my view and the people that I represent, a sick thing, a sin, and something that has led to death and war and has not brought any peace. The idea was that Israel would create some kind of CIA-style junta to rule the Palestinian people so that they wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. But that turned out to be a completely mistaken way of doing things. The Palestinian Authority is corrupt, is jihadist, pays terrorists, and all under the rubric of some kind of liberal thing, as though the creation of Palestine was some kind of gift to liberalism. It wasn't. It was a gift to despotism and thuggery. And so that's what happened. The two-state solution and Oslo. Wait,
but what do you do? What's the solution? What's the solution with the millions of Palestinians, though?
Very good, and that's exactly what I was going to get to. I represent people who believe that there's another way, which is we believe in the dissolution of the two-state solution. We believe in the dismantlement of the Palestinian Authority. We believe that Arabs that want to live in Israel should have residency or maybe Jordanian citizenship. Jordan is the Palestinian state, right? It was like Jewish land that was cut out by the British and created what is de facto a Palestinian state. But by the way, I was there, and in many ways, they see themselves as a Palestinian state. I was there recently. And the bottom line is that we believe that Arabs that want to live in Israel, that respect the fact that they live in the Jewish state, the Israeli state, but want to be an upwardly mobile minority like the Druze, can do that as residents of the state of Israel, maybe citizens of Jordan, maybe some other arrangement. But the bottom line is we have no problem with non-jihad, pro-Israel Arabs to have an excellent life here, better than they're going to find in Egypt and better than they're going to find in Syria. An excellent upwardly mobile life with decent healthcare and decent opportunities and decent schooling and just decent upward mobility. We can provide that. But what we ask for in return is loyalty and respect of our state. And that doesn't mean that Hebron cannot be an Arab city with Arab culture like a Chinatown. Please, tfaddal, b'vakasha. You can have that. But you have to respect our law.
So a one-state solution where everyone has equal rights. Do you worry that
I did not say that.
Okay.
I did not say that.
No equal rights.
That's correct. It's not equal rights because we are an ethnic minority in this region. We live in what is an Indian reservation, a tiny Indian reservation. And within that Indian reservation, we cannot give the ethnic majority of this region equality because then they'll vote us out from within. Therefore, I stress the word residency. Residency. You shall be a resident with full travel rights and full speaking rights and all the various democratic principles that we can give without endangering our security. And I said citizenship in Jordan. That's just one example. But no, not equality. not full equality.
But
We don't have
that would
equality.
but that would make Israel. But that would make Israel the only apartheid state in the world.
Oh
You're
God,
fine with that?
don't you? Aren't you broadcasting from the UAE somewhere there? I don't, like, isn't that a state where there's barely any rights for people? There's this ethnic minority, this group minority that rules the whole country, and basically there's this huge amount of people that have very little rights except for whatever the monarchy grants, and that's the same in Saudi Arabia, and that's the same in Qatar.
Can you expand on that? Yeah, no. Can you expand on it? So what do you mean?
You know perfectly well. You know perfectly well what happens.
I live here.
Yes.
What are the rights I don't have? So you're saying Emiratis have rights that I don't have? So that would be the model you'd use? Emiratis in the UAE.
Do you vote in the Emirati government?
No, but I'm not a citizen. I'm just a resident.
Of course you're not a citizen.
Oh, okay. So you want the same model.
You're one of the millions. Yeah, but you said you threw out Israel would be an apartheid state. Then I said UAE is just like that. And then you're like, you just said Israel would be the only apartheid state. And 1 second later, you admitted freely that UAE works on the same principle. So we wouldn't be the only apartheid. We're not an apartheid state. We're an ethnic national reservation defending our peoplehood. We're not here to give democratic principles, which the Arabs don't have in not one of their countries.
Just a quick question, Isha. Just what rights? So
Mario,
no equal rights. Ask you a
question, Mario. What Arab country runs the democracy?
So I'm not talking about a democracy. UAE is an autocracy.
Can you?
Lebanon is a democracy. Syria wants to become a democracy. The Gulf they're all autocracies. Israel's a democracy.
Syrian democracy. These are words.
No, they want to run a democracy. Let's see if they do. But just a quick question. So when you said they shouldn't have equal rights, so what rights do you think Palestinians should have in the one-state solution, and what rights shouldn't they have?
I think that they should have freedom of movement, freedom to do any kind of business that they want to do. Freedom.
Maybe it's easier. Which rights shouldn't they have? Maybe it's easier.
Voting. I wouldn't give them full voting rights. I would give them maybe partial. Like, I'll give an example. Let's say there's 120 Knesset members. I would give minorities some, just like Puerto Ricans do not have full representation inside of Congress. They have congressmen and senators that are non-voting congressmen and senators, so you can hear the issues of Puerto Rico, but they don't have the right to shift that country's balance and its policies. So too, I would give Arabs some kind of voice in our Knesset, but I wouldn't want Arabs to shift the Jewish state's policy and direction. It's not so tricky. And it's the same as you, Mario. You live in the UAE, yet you do not have voting rights in the UAE. And if you live there 100 years, they'll never give you voting rights. And if you
as a
Japan,
resident, not as a citizen.
Exactly, resident. That's what I said. And you'll never.
So you want to make the Palestinians so the Palestinians they can have residency in Israel, but not citizenship.
Right. Correct. Okay. And let me ask you, Mario, could you ever gain a citizenship in the UAE? No, the answer is no, you cannot. Can you ever gain citizenship in Japan? No, you cannot, because you're not Japanese. That island is trying to defend its island states, and the UAE is a small country, it wants to defend its way, and it's not going to give you rights. And therefore, I want you to roll back the words that you said that Israel would be an apartheid state. Silliness. It would be a Middle East state. It will be a Middle East state running Middle East politics and defending itself like any other Middle East country. And that's fine. We're an ethnic national state. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just another way. Democracy isn't a god. Democracy is a system of governance that's fungible, and you could use it this way or that way. And I say Arabs that love Israel are welcome, but they're not welcome to navigate the Jewish state away from its core mission to defend the Jewish people. And that's the way we're going to survive here. Yes, I am not for equality. That's right. And the UAE is not for equality. We're not for equality is a nice thing, but there's other equalities, by the way. There's other equalities. We need to say equalities under the law, equality, give people, I want to mention just one quick difference. When it comes to the Emirates, I came from Australia. I wasn't born here. When it comes to the Palestine-Israel issue, Jews, they consider Israel as their homeland going back whatever number of years. Palestinians consider it their homeland. So they both have a connection to the land. It's very different to me coming to the Emirates. Now, obviously, you want to go down to history, who has more of a connection. That's a debate that people have on a daily basis. Right. So that's why it's a bit different comparing the UAE. I don't want to criticize your model. I'm trying to understand what model you recommend, but I'm saying the Emirates is different
It's not identical to what you have between Palestine and Israel.
No, it's not identical, but it just shows you that such a model can exist in this region, and nobody says boo about it. And even you, Mario, who could probably live anywhere around the world, right? Choose to live in this place where you don't have a huge control over the policies of the UAE, and you're okay. You're all right. And again, you could choose to live anywhere, including Australia, but you choose to live there for various reasons, and it's okay. Are you abused there? No.
No, so if I can relate to it, you're saying other than voting rights, all other rights, in your view of how Israel should be, all other rights should be equal other than voting rights, being able to buy land anywhere, access to public service, being able to build a business, no discrimination whatsoever. Do you believe everything else should be equal as long as voting rights are with Jewish Israelis to maintain it as a Jewish state?
I'm sure there might be some other issues, like, for example, buying land rights and all that. That's a good question, and I don't want to get to every one of the finer details there. But generally speaking, in simple terms, it's like residency. It's residency. It's you have a status of resident. You are welcome. The minute that you act in a fashion that is not loyal, not law-abiding, then you're out. You can lose that residency status. It's a status. It's a status that is respected. You will have a Bill of Rights, whatever that is, and we have no problem with your culture as long as you're not going to foment various kinds of jihad, whether it be Arab nationalism or religious jihadism. Those are related. Impulses, and so yes, you could live in Israel and be free and successful. But if you try to overrun us or override us or undermine us, we will smell it out and we'll take care of it. I think that's the way forward. I think the two-state solution is a failure. It'll never work. We'll always have to fight back against the two-state solution. We will fight back against it. We will settle our ancestral homeland, Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank, and we will resettle Gaza, and we will make it successful like it was before the disengagement. We will help Arabs live a good life, a life that's successful. By the way, Arabs and Jews, when they work together, there's an economic synergy. We need Arabs in Israel to have economic synergy, and there's nothing wrong with that. And Arabs need us, and Arabs have really moved here in the last 100 years because of the economics that Israel brings. There's nothing wrong with it. We have a synergetic economic future, except for people who don't want to play nice.
Let me step back because I've got more points on the Palestine issue, but I don't want to forget the statements from Ben Gvir, because I did mention to you a statement where he said Lebanon, all of Lebanon should become our playground. And he says he doesn't agree to separate Hezbollah and Lebanon, which is different to what you've been saying.
Right.
So on this particular point.
Let me explain that. First thing, I want you to know, honestly, I have not seen that quote. And it's not like I don't believe what you're saying. I just haven't seen that myself. But if that quote is real, and I say again, if, I don't know, I think what he means in that case is that Lebanon has allowed Hezbollah to take over and use this country as a front and as a forward base to attack us. And that is not acceptable. By the way, the PLO, took over Lebanon, and then it was ousted. The PLO took over in Jordan, and it was ousted by the Jordanians. Remember Black September. So it is anti-Israel forces have their way of making it two countries nearby and then destroying those countries and making them a front for attack, like Hamas did with Gaza as well. So I think what he means by that is, let's not make, and I'm not saying I stand by this. I'm saying that what I understand from that statement, which I cannot corroborate, but what I understand from that is, let's open our eyes, see that Lebanon has been a party to allowing
hijacked by Hezbollah.
Thank you very much. Right. And I think that's what he means, but I don't think he really means that we, want to take over Lebanon. And also with respect to Ben Gvir, he's a voice that I sometimes support, and I don't deny that, but our government's decision right now is a 14-point document that should be celebrated, of mutually recognized rights and wanting to create a economic and political détente for the future of both countries.
One more statement by Ben Gvir. This is the last one, and I want to get your thoughts on that one. That one went the most viral, so it's probably the toughest one for you to try to explain. But I appreciate you trying to explain what he means or what your stance is. So he says the following quote: "My position is that we cannot accept even a single tear of an Israeli mother, even if there are tears from 1,000 Lebanese mothers, and we must continue and press forward." So that's the second statement. He made a statement before that, which you know which one it is. There should be 1,000 tears for Lebanese mothers for every tear of an Israeli mother. So if I take that literal,
Mario,
if I take the statement literally, it means one thing. Or if it's coming out of emotion, he's just saying something that I strongly disagree with. I think statements like this should not be made. But do you think he means it literally? Like for every one person killed on the Israeli side, there should be 1,000 killed on the Lebanese side or something along those lines?
I think what he means is very Middle Eastern type language. This is the kind of rhetoric you might hear from Arab leaders or from Iranian leaders. It's a type of it's an attitudinal adjustment for Israelis that we have to win the war and not allow our kids to be killed in a war that has been foisted upon us. So this is a Middle East style statement. Okay. It's like 1,000 tears on their side and not one tear on our side. It's Middle East.
Would you?
And it's.
I just thought of a question. Sorry, just thought of a question. Would you sit down if I got someone from someone that supports the Iranian regime? Have you actually spoken to anyone that supports the Iranian regime, or someone from the Iranian regime? Have you ever had the chance to speak to them?
No.
Would you? I'm just an idea that I saw. And the reason I thought of it, I'll tell you why, and I'll let you answer it, is as you were speaking, I just remembered I was having a conversation with someone and I was criticizing them for the statements being made on the Iranian side against Israel. And I'm saying, look, you're not going to have peace in the region with that mindset. And they said to me, Mario, we don't have any problem with the Jews. And he started telling me, actually, it was an ultra-Orthodox rabbi that was telling me this.
Yeah,
the Iranians were there's Jews in Iran right now that are not being prosecuted. They have no problem with Judaism as a religion. They've met rabbis. The rabbis have met.
They only have a problem with our country, right? They have a problem with our little tiny country. Yeah, they want to get rid of our tiny country. They don't have a problem with us being Dahimis. One second, Mario. They don't have a problem with us being, a tiny little Dahimi minority in their country that they could suppress, with Sharia law and treat.
There's no suppression. I just want to be fair. There's no suppression of Jews in Iran.
Please, Mario, please don't say that. That's the silliest thing. The Jewish people have been suppressed under Islamic regimes for a long time. It's part of Islamic code.
In Iran right now,
I've spoken to the Iranian Jews live in horrible fear, but it's not just against the Jews. They suppress everybody out there. Mario, they murdered 50,000 people in the streets. Mario, that is the epitome of suppression. My God. And to think that the Jews live there because they're allowed to keep their businesses, they do you a favor. If you keep your head down, they let you, do your businesses. But if you say one thing against them, they destroy you and your families. Come on, please, for God's sakes. One second. Let me make a point too. This is an important point because you asked an important question. I want to give you the important answer. The bottom line with hardcore Islam, right, is that to them, the state of Israel is anathema. It's an impossible thing to swallow and accept. Suddenly, within their region, within their Islamic region, within the place that they conquered, riseth up a Jewish state that pushed them back, embarrassed them, and is a shiny Jewish country in the middle of their region where Islam has replaced Judaism. Now Judaism is back. It's incredibly frustrating to them, and hardcore Islamists need to erase Israel. This thing that they could stand Jews, that's in the Quran. The Jews have a status. They're a subdued second-class people, but they are respected. But to have a Jewish state in the middle of what they understand as an Islamic region is an absolutely impossible thing to swallow. If you can't accept that, then you don't understand the tenets. One does not understand the tenets of hardcore Islam. Is there other versions of Islam? Yes, and the Kurds have it, and there's different versions of it. But that's the hardcore Islam that murdered the 50,000 people in the streets of Iran. And if they murdered their own people, what do you think that they want to do to us here? You think they want to live kumbaya, sit side by side? Let's have a chat. Let's have a chat with somebody from the Iranian regime, and it'll be nice. He'll say like, no, we like Jews. We just want to kill Israel. Come on, Mario, you gotta. The Middle
So
East,
I
the
think
Middle
the
East,
way
and these wars are real. These are real things. They really want to get us, and they're killing us every day, and we're killing them back.
the way they see it. So when I speak to
And a
people that
strong
don't believe,
Israel is the future of peace in this region. We're the ones that are going to bring. We're going to bring clean water. We're going to bring tourism. Okay, we're going to bring clean water. We're going to bring hospitals. We're going to bring education. We're going to bring women's liberation. That's Israel.
I think
that's what we're going to bring. We're going to bring a sense of freedom and a value of every human being. We're going to bring that. We're going to push back on jihadism, and we're going to liberate the people of Sweden, the Druze, and we're going to liberate the Kurds, and we're going to have an awesome Abrahamic region.
Just on the Iranian front. So when I speak to people from the Islamic Republic,
did you interview any of the 50,000 that got murdered? Did you get a chance to talk with them?
No, I've spoken to someone who's I've spoken to 50,000, 10,000. What they did in January, whatever the number is horrific. Now I've spoken to people that are. I remember speaking to a lady that ran away from Iran. Her family got persecuted. So I'm not going to defend them. The same way I can't defend what Ben Gvir says or the way he approaches things. I'm not going to defend.
No, I will not accept
that. There is.
I will make
equivalence. I make an equivalence.
I cannot accept that. I cannot accept that. That's we don't
accept what we're making the comparison between Ben Gvir and the Islamic Republic.
Ben Gvir is talking about fighting back wars against people who want to
kill
us.
When he says when he makes the statement, but you've made it
people in the streets that are trying to ask for more freedom.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. The way the Israel governs Israeli Jews. Incomparable to how Iran governs their own country. I'm a believer in democracy.
What about how we govern Arabs? Have you seen Arabs around here? Have you seen our Arabs and the Arabs that are driving fancy cars? And I go to Shaarei Tzedek Hospital. Half the people in Shaarei Tzedek Hospital, all the names, all the plaques on the walls have Jewish names, and half the people that are getting IVF treatment there are Arabs. For God's sakes, you cannot.
But the Jews,
the Iranian regime.
Jews in Iran, from the people I've spoken to, Jews in Iran are treated like any other citizen. There's no issues, and I've researched it. There's no persecution. There's not one Jew.
I have spoken to tens
of Jews in Iran.
Yes, I've spoken to tens of Iranians from Iran, and we live in fear.
If I'm wrong,
everybody lives in fear in that authoritarian regime. Any woman there lives in fear. A woman who takes off for her job, it lives in fear. She's going to be beaten in the street. You think a Jew's not afraid?
So I have one more question on the Iran issue, and then I want to come back to one last point that I want to ask you about. So when I speak to people from the Islamic Republic, their core problem, and how you asked me to put myself in the shoes of Israelis that have gone through October 7th. They see the threat surrounding them and what you've just explained. So I want you to put yourself in the shoes of people in Iran that see what's happening in Palestine, and they see Israel as a country that's causing the suffering in Gaza. I'm not saying you agree, just trying to do the exercise I'm trying to do as well. They see the suffering in Gaza. They're like, the state of Israel is causing that. The state of Israel is leveling villages in South Lebanon, among other examples. They see the settler violence as well, which I want to ask you about and show you a few things, get your thoughts on that. But when they see it from that lens, they see Israel that might have started as one thing, as Jews having their own state, has now become the most powerful military in the Middle East, and one from being persecuted that has been historically, as you've said, from a religious perspective, to now being the country that is causing that same suffering that Jews have gone through for so long. That is the way they see it. Can you, without agreeing with it, can you see through that lens? I'm not sure if I'm asking my question correctly, but can you try to put yourself in their shoes?
No doubt. The Arab and Muslim world gets fed very engineered images and news, and that has been the very successful MO of Qatar, Al Jazeera, and Turkey, TRT, and Russia Today. They have, and New York Times, they engineer a very lopsided view of what Israel does. There's no doubt that the average Arab, Turk, or Muslim or Persian gets that one-sided, or New York person gets a very one-sided view of how we are prosecuting our wars against the jihad. It is a very one-sided view. For example, the word genocide is freely bandied about, and it's not true. And there is no genocide. We have fought a war. There have been some civilian casualties, no doubt. But you asking me do I believe that the Arab, Muslim, etc., in the region sees Israel as a horrific monster?
Aggressor.
No doubt. That's the news that they're being fed. That is the that is the angle that they're being told every single day. The only good side of that is that at least they fear Israel, which is good. I want my enemies to fear me. I'm happy when they fear me. They should fear me. They should fear Israel, and understand that we are not to be trifled with, that we are a very tough and badass lot, and you do not mess with us as you have messed with us for the 1,000 years beforehand. Let me remind you that the Quran has the story of Muhammad destroying 2 Jewish tribes, and taking the daughters of that tribe as sex slaves. And so that's in the Quran as a good thing to do. And they've been doing that for over 1,000 years, for 1,400 years. And so sometimes, and sometimes in other Islamic versions,
I can't comment. I can't comment on the Quran, the Bible, or the Torah because I'm not an expert in that at all. So
that's fine.
Just a disclaimer.
And by the way, there have been also other times where there's been less fundamentalism, and Islam was taken as a much lighter version, and then we lived in peace and in commerce. But you asked me a question, and I'm saying to you, it's sad for me. It's sad for me that and I also blame the Israeli government for not doing enough to speak in Arabic and to broadcast in Arabic and another language, Farsi, Turkish, etc. We have not done enough to broadcast news. We should have news in Arabic, good news in Arabic and other languages that goes out on satellite to every Arab home. And we should be doing a lot more on TikTok, X, etc., to explain our position in Arabic. Sometimes we do it. When we do it, it's successful. We should be doing it a lot more.
Yeah,
but the only good side is that, yes, I want people to fear Israel, and that will cause deterrence. Deterrence is an important factor of saving.
Question on that point. If someone replaces Mujtaba Khamenei, now let's say Mujtaba Khamenei steps down.
Is he really around, or is he just an AI?
So let's say he's around. I think he's around.
Is he like an avatar of jihad?
So I think he's still around. But let's say someone takes over, or let's say he changes heart. But let's move away from him. A new leader of Iran, Islamic Republic, same way of leadership, etc. But they want to open diplomatic channels with Israel to start improving relations. Are you for that or not? Do you think there's a chance for diplomacy if that's the case?
We had an excellent relationship with Iran before the revolution. We will have another excellent relationship with Iran when this revolution is overthrown. We had an excellent relationship with the Turkish people after Erdogan is gone, and with the help of God, we pray that a normal leader will come there. We'll have excellent relations. We could have good relations with Egypt. We made mistakes in that relationship, and we could have good relations with them in the future.
Good. You could say Egypt is pretty good. Egypt is a pretty good relationship. Not perfect. It's very different to Iran, Turkey.
No, it's just a different. Okay, I understand.
Too harsh on that relationship. They're not perfect, but there's a lot of.
I understand where you're coming from. I do. I really do. And I can understand why you may think that my posture is harsh, and I understand that. But I have to be more suspicious. With Lebanon,
can I guess why I want to, before I bring up the settler violence, and I'll get your thoughts on that. Yeah. From what I understand is, when we go through these topics we've only had, this is our second discussion, is because of what the region's been through, there's just no trust at all. You just don't trust the other side, and you're always on edge. You're always feeling like a repeat of what happened decades ago could happen again, or centuries ago could happen again. I feel this is your biggest worry. Is there any Arab country that you fully trust, that you think they could be considered allies?
We have an ongoing Abraham Accords. Like, Mario, the difference between Israel when I was a kid and Israel today, you know, the number 2 airline that's flying out of Israel, it's Emirates, and it's Etihad. It's like Emirates, right? Emirates, not Etihad.
Is there a country not part of the Abraham's Accords that you think?
Wait, Mario, do you understand what I'm saying to you? the number 2 airline after El Al is an Arab airline flying out of Israel. That was not imaginable.
That's a good point.
When I was a kid. It was unimaginable. And my brother is in the UAE. You know, it's like he flew there and and had a great time. Like,
have you been to the UAE?
You know, I haven't, and I'm psyched, and I'm a little bit jealous. I'm just not going to fly now because it's very hot, right? But I'm going to fly, this winter, and I'm psyched, and I hear amazing things about it, and like, wow, we say, so Baruch Hashem, Allah Ma'ak, we were excited about it, and there's more, and we have excellent relations with the Druze, and we have excellent relations with the Kurds. Now there's something with Lebanon brewing. It's changing. People are like, normal Arabs, Muslims are thinking to themselves, this 100-year war is pointless. And not to mention tons of so-called Palestinians that I'm in touch with all the time that say to me, when are we throwing off this PA crap, this Palestinian Authority crap? When are you guys going to give me Israeli residency? Do you know how many Arabs tell me that? Of course, in secret, or else, the secret police, the Stasi of the PA will destroy them. But they tell me all the time, Yishai, when are we going to come back under Israel? That's what we want. We want normal life and normal work and normal hospitals. I hear like that's a daily refrain by the Arabs of the so-called Palestinians. So do I trust Arabs? The word trust is not the right word. Middle East is not a place of trust. Is there an ability to work together, to have an alignment, to have mutual interests? Absolutely. Absolutely. I have no doubt about it.
One quick question before I show you a video to get your reaction. When I mentioned the Islamic Republic, if I bring someone from Iran, would you speak to them at all to understand? Someone that doesn't believe in the state of Israel, wants to eradicate the state of Israel, would you even have a discussion with them?
Mario, of course I can have a discussion with them. If it'll get the ratings going, if YouTube will be happy about it.
Not even private, not even on the interview, even just a private discussion.
I'm busy, but sure, you know what I mean? We could always do that.
You're busy,
I'm saying you're busy. You know what I mean? If you want to have such a discussion, we can have such a discussion. But what's the point? You know what I mean? What's the point?
I think a good question. Let me ask you. It's a great question. I think really that's the best solution. I genuinely believe this is the best solution to most issues is dialogue. That's literally the main reason.
Can I say this without
the alternative is just so much worse.
Well, first thing is I want to say, and I don't mean this in a like a cynical fashion. You're sweet, it's sweet what you're saying.
They call me naive.
Yeah, it's sweet. It's okay. Second thing, I want to tell you something. Please, violence. The ability to return violence with violence is a lifesaver for us. And again, to us, Israel is the end of a cycle of violence. Our ability to push back against our enemies, the deterrence that we give is much better than words. They know that we're not going anywhere. And then words can come through our strength. And they respect us. And they respect us. When I speak to Arabs, by the way, when I speak to Arabs, I always say to them, Allah has given us our land. He's never given us your land. In your lands, we are subservient to you. In our lands, this is our land. And you've never been able to defeat us because Allah is with us. And I say to them, look what has happened to you. All of your fighting with us has led to nothing. And most of your countries, the ones that fight with us, turn into mush. And they're not good countries anymore. Look at beautiful Damascus. It's crap. Look at beautiful Beirut. It's crap. Look at beautiful Cairo. It's crap. Look at beautiful Baghdad. It's crap. Why? Because of the hate. The hate doesn't lead to anything. Israel, you say to me, Yishai, will you talk with Iranians? Our natural modality is to talk and to have.
I'm not talking about Iran. I'm talking about the Iranian, those that support the Islamic Republic or part of it, that believe in the eradication of Israel, the extreme.
You know what? We can have a chat, and here's what it's going to sound like. He's like, I want to eradicate Israel. I'm like, okay, I want to eradicate jihad, and it was a nice conveison. And then
I think it'll be better.
All right, you know what? Hey, it's your show. You know what I mean? It's your show.
I'll give it a try.
It's your rating.
No, I'm saying,
and
even
if you
I'd do
something
it.
Good.
Yeah, I'd even do it. I'd even do it privately. Now, I want to get your thoughts on one last thing that really bothers me as well. So I mentioned to you the Ben Gvir statements that you've explained because they bother me, and these videos that keep coming out of settlers confronting Palestinians, asking them to leave their land. So if you can open that one, I haven't seen it yet. That's my producers prepared it. What does the tweet say? Hold on, pause it for a sec. Pause it for a sec, KK. What does the tweet say? Can you just minimize it? I want to see. I'll read the tweet. What it says. Armed settler terrorism in the bank. Imagine being a Palestinian in your own home, forced at gunpoint to hand your land to armed settlers. Refuse, you get killed. This is a daily reality in the West Bank. So if you can play the video and get your thoughts on it, Yishai.
Okay, we saw it. It's pretty obvious.
Can I show you two, three more? I'll show you all of them, and you can take your time to comment on all of them. Get your thoughts.
Let's start just with this one because it'll just,
go ahead.
It's obvious what's going on there. We know it all the time. Arab encroachment, getting close to Jewish villages, and continuing to set up shop closer and closer in encroachment, and then creating a front for terrorism. And then these guys came out there to push them back. We see it every single day. The tweet writes it exactly the opposite, but I could tell exactly from the body language and the positioning what happened. Is the Arab, so-called Palestinian, pro-jihad, European-sponsored move forward close to a Jewish village, and the defense folks came out, met them, and were like, go back. Where I live, first thing I just want you to remember, I'm broadcasting to you right now from the West Bank. I'm here right now. I'm a West Bank settler, dun, 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 okay? But really, I'm a Jew living in the heartland of our ancestral homeland. And we know about this all the time. In the town that I live in just now, there were Arab encroachment right up to our defenses, and we just went and we destroyed these garages and fake parking lots that they just put up in order to encroach, and to hem us in. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. Now you can write the text and flip it and make it
put the
other
text
way, but
aside.
it's not.
No,
It's obvious.
put the text aside. Put the text aside.
No, the text is everything. The text is the context. The text is the context.
I'm saying
the
this is their take.
I'm telling you what just happened when you saw that video. What it is jihadi encroachment, and they're being pushed back.
We obviously can't know for sure. This is you reading their body language.
I know for sure. You asked me. I live here.
Yeah.
You asked me. Maybe I'm wrong, but you asked me my interpretation. I'm giving you my interpretation, and I'm 100% sure of what I saw. You may not be sure, but and you don't have to believe me. But I'm your guest today, and I'm telling you what I just saw.
So I'll show you one more if you don't mind, and then I'd love to get your thoughts on that one. So we read, Palestinian family attacked in the West Bank by Israeli settler. Israeli settlers are trying to forcibly expel Palestinians from their homes and seize their land. If you can start it again with the volume, please. Yeah. We can't hear the audio, KK. Can you play it again with the audio?
Fucking Nazi fuck. Get the fuck out of here. Fuck off.
Fuck off?
You fuck off. Fucking hell.
مالا لما אתה זורק אבנים? למה אתה זורק אבנים? למה אתה זורק אבנים?
תסמא גדר שלך, יא מניאק, צא תהיה גבר.
למה אתה זורק אבנים? יום שבת?
צא תהיה גבר.
שבס.
צא תהיה גבר, צא מהגדר שלך.
שבס.
צא מהגדר שלך, תעיף את המניאק השרמוט האירופאי הזה.
אתה, לא הוא.
מי שהביא אותך, יא מניאק.
אני בוא.
בוא תבוא.
The settler threw big rocks and tried to break into the house and throw big rocks at me and the house, at my friends here, without any accountability. They are sponsored by the Israeli government. They are supported by the Israeli media and protected by many parliamentarians. So they go wild.
Okay. You want me to comment on this?
Please.
I happen to know that Arab very well, Issa Amro. I happen to be sitting right now about 300 meters away from that house.
Oh wow!
So I know Issa very well. I've had many interactions with him over many years. I know him. I know his activity, and I'll tell you the following. Jew there obviously got very angry at something, and I'll tell you what. Issa Amro sits in a house given to him by the Palestinian Authority. in order to be a professional provocateur against the Jews. He is a constant thorn in our sides, constantly talking about, things like equality. But in fact, he is a paid a member of the PLO-PA, although he denies it. But we know factually that he is. We know that he brings a lot of European provocateurs to help fund the constant battle against Israel. By the way, there's been many accusations of sexual impropriety against him and the European girls who come to him. And a lot of times they don't come to him anymore because of the problems that he has. And this guy is professional. And this Jew got pissed off and fell into the trap. He doesn't know that Issa Amr is a professional media guy, one of the best. I have tremendous respect for his abilities. Okay. And he's known as the Palestinian Gandhi, and he's just amazing at creating provocations. He pissed off this Jew. What happened there? I don't know what happened beforehand. And then this Jew, got angry and threw rocks. By the way, nothing happened there very violently. This is nothing in the grand scheme of the Middle East day-to-day interactions between Arabs and Arabs. Arabs and Arabs shoot at one another around here like crazy, okay? We have a lot of times to duck when Arabs are shooting at one another. This is a pissed off, little neighborly, chicken fight there. But bottom line is that nothing really happened there. But I know who it is. You're dealing with a person who's made millions off of provoking Israel, millions off of being a friend of the European Union anti-Semites. And he's a great videographer, a great talker. And this Jew, like a fool, fell right into, his trap and basically did nothing but tried to make a lot of bravado, threw a few rocks, said, come the F out, that kind of, unnecessary, bravado. And the bottom line is, but bottom line is, A, nothing really happened there. And two is that the other guy, the Arab, Issa Amru, is a real endless troublemaker who other Arabs, his next door neighbor, other Arab, Yaqub, hates him, has told me a million times, I wish he would get out of here. All he is a professional provocateur. And that's what he does. He makes money from conflict. He makes professional.
Is there instances of those videos? So this one, the person personally, but is there instances where it's the other way around? So is there cases in your view where Jewish settlers would go in and try to kick the Arabs out or try to provoke them or use violence to try to kick them out of their land, to take their land? Do you think that, in your view, that happens as well?
Sure. It happens sometimes. This is a tough region.
Your view of that, you'd be critical of that. You'd be, if there's any Jewish settlers that go in and they're the ones that...
We're not for vigilantism. We want the state to get rid of jihadism. Sadly, our state doesn't always do what it's supposed to do, and that causes friction on the ground. There's friction. There's friction between Arabs and Jews sometimes. There's friction between jihadists and so-called resettlers, Jews coming back to their homeland, pushing back against jihadism and land.
The Palestinians.
Palestinians, there is a land. There is a squatting and a taking over and a land grab. We have a fight for every hilltop.
Do you feel bad for some of those Palestinians that do lose their land, or sometimes are the victims as well? Or
I feel bad for the millions of Arabs who would love to be residents of Israel and get away from all this crap, but are ruled by jihadi, corrupt thugs. Okay, here in Hebron, there was an Arab who decided that Jews are not so bad, brought a Knesset member to his house, took a selfie with him. Next thing he knows, he's being tortured in Palestinian Authority prison, and he's never had a Jew in his house again. Right over here, close by. Arabs are victims. First and foremost, they're the victims of jihadism. Jihadism always targets moderate Arabs first. They don't want anybody breaking ranks. Look at what Hamas did the minute they took control in the Gaza Strip. They kill Arabs. They think that collaborators are way worse. So do I feel bad for Arabs who are caught in the conflict? Yes. Do I think that sometimes Arabs can face violence that they may not deserve? Yes. Is that disproportionately much more violence that Jews face, 10,000 to 1 of jihadists attacking Jews. Yes, Jews are the victims around here. We're victims of jihadism. And yes, we're pushing back because the Lord has granted us strength again to push back against Arab jihadi violence. And that's what we're doing. That's the reality. Do you want me to feel bad for the individual guy? Okay, yeah, I feel bad for the individual guy, but that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about.
And when
the land grab, the land stealing is Arab, and Jews are going to push back to reclaim Judea, and that's the way it's going to be.
So this is, you're explaining historically why you want that land should be part of Israel, Judea.
It is the heart of Israel.
Yeah, and you've gone through historically what it means to you, etc. And this is a debate that goes back centuries. But the Palestinians that were born, the young, people, kids that were born, that have nothing to do with what happened thousands of years ago, and they're having their land taken because of the reason
they're
that
not
you've
having
given.
their land taken. They are stealing land daily.
I'm saying the ones that were
takers. They are land takers, not land being taken away. The Palestinian movement is a land grabber. It's a endless daily builder on an illegal building. It's a constant land stealer and land grabber. We're pushing them back.
But the West Bank is being settled by Israel.
I wish.
I wish it was more being settled by Israel.
Yes,
it is being settled. Yeah. So what I mean,
we're now trying very hard to resettle this, and we have to push back on Arab land grabbing.
And the Arabs that live in that land, the people that were born,
I think we said it a lot of times. Let's make it clear. Arabs that want to live in this land, including in the so-called West Bank, what we call Judea and Samaria, will have every right to do that. If you renounce jihadism and accept Israel as the sovereign, according to, of course, people like me. I'm not saying the state is yet at that point, but that's the future. I represent people who will be, controlling with the help of God. We will be welcoming of Arabs who want to live as free men and women in the state of Israel and use its blessings and its comforts and its opportunities. If you're an Arab or a Muslim or whatever you are, that you just can't stand the Jewish state because it's just against your thing. It's against your religion. It's against your Arab nationalism. You can't deal with it. So you'll go to the UAE. Okay. And if you pick up arms against us, well, we'll pick up arms against you and we'll be victorious. It's simple.
Do
you see how simple I reduce it to very simple things, really? This tiny piece of land is ours. That's why I make it sound simple because it is simple.
You do understand, like, if I put myself in the shoes, I was born in what is considered now the West Bank. I have my home, I have my family. I'm trying to live a life.
And you can still have your home and your family.
And I have no problems. I have no problem with Judaism. I have no problem with the state of Israel. But I do believe, look, I want to stay with my home. I want to stay in my land. I want to have equal rights, etc.
Not equal rights, close to equal rights. Not equal, but close.
So do you mind if I get your reaction on the team has 2 more clips? Do you mind if I play 2 more clips?
It's starting to get a little late for me, Mario. We've been on, thank God, for an hour and a half. Maybe just
we'll do one more. We'll do one more. All right. KK, choose one of those 2, and then we'll get Ishai's take on it. I appreciate you giving me more time than initially planned. So let me read the tweet. Today in Sheba al-Bottom at noon, settlers accompanied by soldiers and a policeman invaded the village. The settlers trespassed into the residents' sheep pens and conducted a search. One of the invading settlers is Amichai Shilo, the owner of the Doma Farms outpost. Can you play it just with volume?
Wait. Before
you play it, KK,
why would they be conducting a search? Answer: because Arab marauders stole sheep. That's what they do. They steal sheep, and now they're trying to identify their sheep. This is the oldest. It's in the Bible, bro. It's in the Quran. It's the oldest stuff in the book. Bedouins or Palestinians steal sheep. Now we got to get them back. Here comes the police with the settlers to point out which sheep are theirs. These are plain daily Middle East things. It's no big secret that Arab society has a lot of theft in it. Jews face a type of terrorism which is called farming theft. That's what they're dealing with. And the video you're going to show me is exactly explaining that they're coming into their pens to see if they stole their sheep. Easy.
Last one here. I already said one, but he wants me to. I told him. Look, if you see my message, I'm like, hey man. He said only one. He's like, read. I'm gonna sneak this one on for behalf of KK. Israeli settlers attack Palestinians escorting foreigners during a tour around Jericho, Palestine. Settler violence against Palestinians soared in 2022 is expected to continue. Did you want to play the clip as well, KK, or just read? You know what? Let's play this last clip.
عم بضربوا فينا قاعدين بالعصي كسر مستوطنين صغار أدرسلي في 100 شاب وصبية وأنا حتى أجانب كلنا ضرونا.
Yeah, Mario, I think we got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Same thing. You know, listen, do I love to see these kind of scenes? No. But in the Middle East, if somebody's trying to encroach on your land and take it away and tell a story that you're stealing somebody else's land, but in fact they're coming to steal your land, you push them back. Do I love to see these scenes? I don't love it. Am I disgusted? No, because I also appreciate the bravery of. By the way, notice that so-called settler, that young man, spoke Arabic. He was speaking to them in Arabic. That's good. I think it's very important for Israelis to speak Arabic. Bottom line is, we're under attack. We're under encroachment. And there's a secondary attack. There's two kinds of attacks. There's the attack of the encroachment itself. Then there's the secondary attack of the creation of that video and framing it in a very particular way. Jews are under attack globally and in Israel. Palestine wants to take away our land, wants to destroy Israel. They say it every single day. Iranian regime wants to destroy Israel. Turkish regime wants to destroy Israel. They're trying to take away our land. They're trying to take away our life. They bomb us in the north. They bomb us from the south. And we push back with amazing, unbelievable tenacity. When I see that young man, on the one hand, I don't love to see those images because I don't like to see that kind of violence and stuff. But on the other hand, I say, okay, you know what I mean? You're holding your ground, which is the rules, the 10 commandments of the Middle East. Don't succumb to their efforts to erase you, to take away your land, to get European funding. The Europeans are still trying to do a Holocaust. You know, they're sick in the head, the Europeans. They're still totally obsessed with us and totally, you know, trying to like still do their thing, and they feel guilty. And now they're trying to say that we're the same as the Nazis. Like they have issues. They have real psychological issues, the Europeans, the majority. They're really sick in their brain and heart. And while in the meantime, their countries are becoming, you know, Palestinian states themselves. In any case, really, it's a sickness that they have, and they still foment violence around here. If the state of Israel wanted to get rid of violence in the so-called West Bank in one fell swoop, it would deny entry to these Europeans. The Europeans, the white colonialists, they continue to create strife and provoke Arabs and Jews to fight one another. If the white former Christian European colonialists, you know, if they would get the hell out of the scene, and if the state of Israel would do a better job of not letting them in, there would be a lot more peacefulness. They stir up violence purposefully, and that video shows it. They purposefully tell the Arabs, it's your land, go take it, instead of listening to the Arab elders who say to them, Allah has given the Jews their land. We have to go back to Arab lands. We have to find a different place. We have to respect the Jews. Allah is with them. And that's the problem with these former colonialists who continue to make trouble. These, you know, these kind of neo-Nazi, nihilist, pro-jihadist, white colonialist, you know, whiteys that come and make trouble for everybody. I wish they would just get the hell out of the scene, and we have a lot more peace. In any case, that's, you know, the framing is everything. The framing is everything. And I've tried to give you the framing of how I see the reality on the ground here.
I appreciate it. Well,
but Mario, let us remember, I know that you're from Lebanese stock. At least that's what it says in Wikipedia. And I just want to say, today is a day of progress. Shall we not celebrate at least the effort towards progress? Okay, many of the things that you say and want are the things that happen today. So I say, you know, Mabruk, L'chaim, Prost, whatever you want to say, like Baruch Hashem, thank God that today, you know, is a day where we're moving forward towards more regional stability and peace. And I bless this day. And I want to thank you again for having me on with such a serious conversation.
I appreciate your time, Yisha. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and it gives you insight, because I've always struggled to get someone on the show that can explain when Ben Gvir makes statements like he does, and that always goes viral. And I'm one of the people that criticize it on a regular basis, and I will continue to do so. But I always try to, and I've said this on the show before, I always try to understand, why is Ben Gvir saying those things? It's the same thing when I have someone from another country that says, you know, we want to eradicate the state of Israel, etc. I want to understand. I strongly disagree with it. I condemn it. But why do they say this? Why do they have that mindset? And I think in this conversation, Yishai gave me, at least for me, and I hope you got it as well, insight into how he sees things. why he believes Ben Gvir and others make some statements like, 1,000 Lebanese mothers should weep for every Israeli mother, and statements like that many of us are critical of. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation. I'm actually going to hold him by his word and try to get him into a conversation with someone from the Islamic Republic if I can, because for anyone that's been following me for the last few years, my goal in doing these discussions, what I really get a kick out of is to have two extremes come together. The example I've always used was I wanted to get, as hypothetical, get like Putin and Zelensky sitting on a table together. It's kind of an end goal. And it applies even more in the Middle East. When I did my space and I had a pilot from the IDF on my space, on my stage, with a journalist from the West Bank who had about, I think, 12 family members killed because of Israeli bombings. And they were together on stage talking. I have other similar examples. That's probably the most emotional one. That was in the first year of the Gaza war. That should explain to you why I do what I do. And I want to do more of these conversations, having two sides come together, have a discussion. So guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be live again in an hour and a half to continue our conversation, going back to political discussions. And will be Professor Steve Hank to talk about the economic situation. So I'll see you guys in an hour and a half. Thank you.